Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear. I want to make another video talking about the defensive rifle, but the topic for this video is really going to be about a magnified optic and its use on a defensive rifle. Okay. Now, I got to tell you right off the bat that I really don't have a definitive conclusion for this topic because there's just so many different variables to consider. But what I thought I would do is maybe share a little bit of my journey with this topic and some of my experience and some observations from other individuals in a instruction or training type of environment. And maybe that will help provide a little bit of insight to someone who has a defensive rifle and they're considering putting some type of an optic on it. Now, like with many of my videos, I like to put a parameter around the discussion or around information that I'm trying to put out, and that's what I'm going to do with this video. As far as the defensive rifle goes, it's going to be that same main defensive rifle that I have defined in many of my videos in the past, and to quickly define that, it would be something with the capacity and the capability of a AR-15 and 5.56 and AK-47 and AK-74, that class of firearms. There's a lot of different options to choose from. All right, as far as the optics, I want to put a little bit of a fence around that as well. And basically comes down to two different types of magnified optics, and that is the fixed power combat sight. An ACOG would be an example of that, and either a fixed power or variable rifle scope. Okay. Now, I thought I would start this video out telling y'all about a course that I took back in 2006. It was more of an advanced type of a carbine class, and it was specifically designed to introduce the students to close quarters engagements. Okay. And that's obviously a skill set that we need instruction, we need training, we need to build skill sets for. And at this class, I carried a AR-15 with an aim point sight on there, which is a non-magnified sight. But I have really been at that time considering putting a magnified optic on there. So I was hoping that there'd be some folks at the class that had some magnified optics there, so I'd have a chance to talk with them and find out what their thoughts are on the subject. And I was not disappointed. A good number of folks in that class had some sort of magnified optic there. Now, the majority was non-magnified aim points, EOTechs, reflex sights of whatever make and model. But it was a good portion of that class had different types of magnified optics. And in that beginning of that course, when you're kind of meeting and greeting before things get started, I was talking to some of the guys that were talking about their equipment, and kind of centered in on four different individuals. One of them was a United States Marine, and he had been a Marine for about 10 years at that time. And the rifle that he brought to that class was an AR-15 with a ACOG, a Trijicon ACOG sight on there, and it was the same sight that he had on his current issue firearm. Now, he had combat experience and had been deployed in both Afghanistan and Iraq, and he brought a lot of knowledge and a lot of instruction that he had received to the table. There was two guys that came together, and they were both SWAT members for a police department, and they had AR-15s as well, and they had variable power scopes. Their scopes were Night Force scopes, really nice high dollar scopes. And the fourth individual was a deputy sheriff, and in his jurisdiction he had a pretty good sized town and a rural area as well. And he had been a law enforcement officer for about 20 years. Okay, so those four folks were all professional. They were all well experienced. Matter of fact, that both of those SWAT members also had prior military experience. So all four of these guys were really going to be some folks to learn from, because they all had magnified optics. By the way, the deputy sheriff had a veritable scope as well, although I can't remember the manufacturer. So with this course being centered around close quarters engagements, we had opportunities to train in a shoot house, and we had even the shooting that we did on the static range was all in very, very short ranges, from in your face to typical self-defense ranges from 7, 10, 15 yards. I don't think we had any targets that we actually set up for in this course that were more than 25, 30 yards. So, you know, of course, the emphasis on safety and the emphasis on the course was quickly being aware of your environment, acquiring targets, lining your sight up and putting effective rounds on that target as quickly as you can, right? This course, you know, was all about target acquisition and putting rounds downrange quickly. If you like run and gun, this was right up your alley. So at the conclusion of the course, I had the opportunity, and I took it to go talk to those same 4 guys, and I asked them what they thought about their magnified optics after taking this course. And, you know, of course, all 4 of them said that they really liked their optic, they really liked the capability, especially at longer ranges, even though that wasn't the course material for this class. So to share with you a side note, at one point in time or another, all 4 of these highly trained professionals had problems, or they were a little bit slower than some of the other folks in the class that were using non-magnified optics on acquiring the target and getting that first round off. Okay. So when I left that class, I had a lot of new knowledge. I had a lot of things to practice to build skill with, but I hadn't answered that question on the magnified optic yet because of the difficulties that some of these guys had during that course. So I decided to go ahead and buy a magnified optic, put it on an AR-15, and start developing some of those skills that I had learned in the class, and that would help me evaluate for myself that option. Now, the optic that I bought for this purpose was the Trijicon rifle scope, and this is a very low powered scope to fit in with a wide variety of ranges. It is a 1.25 by 4 power magnification, has a 24-inch millimeter objective, has a 1-inch main body. Now, all in all, this is a very good rifle scope, and I think that it really fits well into that capability range of a defensive rifle. One of the things I began to notice right off the bat is that the magnified optics, like this scope, or maybe like the ACOG, because the ACOG was actually the second sight that I bought. And I put it on an AR-15, and it's not on the same AR now, but it is on an AR. It's this is an LWRC AR-15 chambered in 6.8 SPC. But the thing that I noticed about both of these sights is they were a little less forgiving in sight alignment between your eye and the sight itself. And that's really not a fault of these sights. It can't be attributed to manufacturer or anything else. It's just something that you have to consider. You know, when you are using a non-magnified sight, no parallax sight like an aim point, you can look through that sight no matter what. You can look through that sight unless it's somehow obstructed. And even in that class, the folks that had the EOTechs and the aim points and similar stylings of sights, the instructors was telling them that in those really close ranges, you know, to put rounds down range quicker, accurate rounds down range quicker, you can turn the sight off and just bracket your sight against the silhouette target. And we of course tried that. And you can get those effective rounds on target very quickly. You're just looking through there, bracketing the objective onto the silhouette and start putting rounds down range. Now the guys that had the magnified optics, their sights were much less forgiving because of what it takes to get the sight picture inside of that sight. I'll use the ACOG for example, but it really doesn't matter what you use. So you have some different things that come into play here. One of the specifications that you'll sometimes see with a magnified optic is called an exit pupil. Okay, and that's basically the distance between your eye and the sight itself, and that can be a range of maybe an inch or inch and a quarter, inch and 3/4, and so on. But that lets you know about how close your eye or how far back your eye has to be in order to get the optimum sight picture within this optic. Okay. Also, you have to consider that deviance in left or right or up and down can play havoc on your sight picture. Now, sight alignment, you're being able to hold the rifle consistently, putting your eye in the same spot, you know, is all important, and that's part of being a rifleman. What I am doing is just expressing to you that it's just even more critical when you have a magnified optic, because you're either not going to get the whole picture, or maybe you're not going to get any sight picture at all within that sight, and that can take fractions of a second for you to adjust to get that sight picture so you can put rounds down range. Now let's look at the true speed demons. The true speed demons are some of our competitors, right? And three-gun matches are really popular right now, and a lot of folks get involved with those things. And one thing that you always see in those, with some of these top shooters and some of these real true speed demons, is that they have a variable power scope on their rifle. But excuse me, but offset from that, they'll have a smaller red dot sight. And when you talk to some of these competitors, that's because they say that, you know, for the short range shots, that they train to automatically camp that rifle, use that red dot sight on those short targets. And then for the longer range shots, the extended range, they have their variable power scope, and they can, you know, operate the amount of power that they, magnification that they want to use to engage the target. So once again, it seems like some of these guys that have quite a bit of knowledge, quite a bit of capability, these guys are saying use both. So how does that really set up to your average Joe, like you or I, and the choices that we make? Well, I don't think that these magnified optics are a bad choice in any means. As a matter of fact, I have a newer one. This one's made by Leopold, and it's sitting on an AR-15, and it is a called a hammer, H-A-M-R, and it's a fixed power, 4 magnification, 4 times magnification, and it is an outstanding sight. It has a reticle that is illuminated, but even without the illumination, the reticle is etched on the glass. And the glass is super clear. It's a lot clearer than my ACOG, by the way. And I'll tell you what, it just seems to work well with this rifle. But once again, it suffers from the same limitations as far as eye alignment with the sight. So you have to keep that in mind. See, when we think about a defensive rifle, that rifle that you may have to use in the middle of the night to defend your home, inside your home, down a hallway, inside of a room, whatever, things can happen very quickly. And we have to decide what gives us the best options. Now, there is no doubt that the higher magnifications will aid us in shooting at distance. But down a hallway is really not going to matter. So the ability to get that reticle up, or get that sight picture, where you can put effective rounds on a deadly threat, is critical. So I guess that's why I still have an aim point sitting on my defensive rifle. But that's my choice, and you know what? Here's a daggone good choice for a defensive rifle. This happens to be a 6 Sauer 716. It's chambered at 308. And this variable power scope, 1 1/4 to 4 power scope, in my opinion, makes this rifle very versatile. Not only at those short ranges, but also at extended ranges. So you see, I still haven't made a conclusion. But I hope the conversation, I hope that maybe some of the comments or whatever will add information to help somebody make that choice. At any rate, thank you for watching my videos. I always appreciate that. And remember to shoot straight, on the range and in life. Thanks.